गजाननं भूतगणादिसेवितं कपित्तजम्बूफलपा सारपक्षितं उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारणं नमामि विघ्नेश्वरपादपङ्कजम्. Hari Om, Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Friends, Namaste and a hearty welcome to one and all. India's Independence Day is significant as it stands as a reminder of the sacrifices that many freedom fighters made to get independence from British, ending an almost 200-year British rule. India got its freedom on August 15, 1947. We are familiar with only few prominent names, but there are very many who sacrificed their lives. So let us remember with respect and pay our homage to all those whose sacrifice has given us freedom to India and Indians. On August 15th, we celebrated our 75th Independence Day. Our Prime Minister has given the nation a mission statement: nation first, always first. To make this a reality is every Indian's responsibility. In today's 22nd session of our series, aim to lead us into an inward journey for discovery of inner strength and happiness, in short, DISHA, through Bhagavad Gita. As mentioned during our earlier sessions, DISHA is uniquely designed where our teachers shall explain one topic or concept from two texts, the Bhagavad Gita and Tattva Bodha. Today, Dr. Timapa Hegde sir shall introduce us to the day's topic, and Sri Karthik shall present the third part of Karma Sannyasa Yoga with a focus on Jnana Karma Sannyasa from verses 13 to 21 of Bhagavad Gita chapter 5. From Tattva Bodha, the topic shall be Atma, the fourth blessing principle. Atma, Anatma, Viveka will be explained. After Sri Karthik's presentation, Dr. Hegde sir shall lead us through the important aspects and highlight the key insights from today's presentation. Today's teaching quiz shall be presented by Srimati Pannaga, who has put this together along with Srimati Padma Chandrasekhar. Dr. Netravati shall commence today's session by chanting and explaining the well-known divine and powerful Gayatri mantra. Dr. Netravati, Madam, please.
Namaste, Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. This Gayatri mantra is a universal prayer, also known as Savitri mantra. It has 5 portions. Coming to the next slide, the first 2 portions, Om, is called Pranava mantra, and Bhur Bhuhasvaha is called Vyahruti mantra, which is not part of the Gayatri mantra. The actual mantra is 3 lines, Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. So let us understand the inherent meaning of this Gayatri mantra. The first word, Om, is Pranava Omkara. Omkara is supposed to be the best name of the Lord. Om Tat Sat. These 3 are the names of Brahma or the Lord. Because of this alone, Omkara is known by the name Pranavaha, means a name which is ideal for the Lord. Next, the words Bhur Bhuvasvaha. These 3 words literally mean past, present, future. So, by uttering these 3 words, the chanter contemplates the glory of the God that illumines the 3 worlds. The simple meaning is, I remember Om, the Lord, which manifests in the form of the 3 lokas. From Vedanta standpoint of view, Omkara represents Nirguna Turiyam, Bhur Bhuvasvaha represents Saguna Vishwa Taijasa Prajna. Therefore, Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha represents Chatushpada Brahma. I remember the Nirguna Brahma who alone is manifesting in the form of Saguna Brahma. In the next slide, the third part, that is the Gayatri Mantra, this can be interpreted in two ways as described by Swami Paramarthanandaji. The Samanya Artha is invocation of Surya Devata, which we meditate upon. Varenyam means sacred, auspicious, Shrestha. Bhargaha means brilliance, effulgence. So we meditate upon that Lord's Son who is considered sacred as the light which enlivens, energizes, activates our buddhi, our intellect. So the simple meaning of the Gayatri Mantra is we meditate upon the sacred effulgence of the Sun God which activates our intellect. Bhagavan says, O Arjuna, the light and energy in the sun belongs to me. Therefore, look upon the sunlight in the early morning as the pratyaksha symbol of the Lord and derive the energy. Vishesha Vedanta Artha means meditate upon, nididhyasanam. We meditate upon the Satchidananda Swarupam of the Lord, that Lord who is the material cause of the creation as well as the intelligent cause. Brahman or Ishvara Swarupam, which is light capable of removing darkness, ignorance, removes samsara also. If a person chants Gayatri Mantra before the study of Vedanta, it becomes Upasanam. But the very same Gayatri Mantra after the study of Vedanta becomes Nididhyasanam. Aham Brahmasmi Dhyana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Netra, for introducing the Gayatri Mantra. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. As introduced by Shivkumar, today we enter into a very interesting part of the fifth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The fifth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. But the verses that we deal today with are on jñānam. So it would be ideal to call this set of verses as Jnana Karma Sannyasa. As we know, the fifth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is a chapter rich with beautiful verses, but it is very similar to the fourth chapter and has no unique characteristic unlike all the other chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. The fourth chapter we will remember for the avatara, we will remember for the inaction part. So it is actually a continuation of Jnana Karma Sannyasa with a set of very beautiful verses. And in today's class, we have one of the most wonderful set of verses in the fifth chapter, each one of them from 13 to 21, worth knowing. And that is the significance of the DISHA classes. That means those who have gone through these classes, whenever these verses are presented out of context, that means even the verses given to you, you should be able to see the significance of that particular verse. Additionally, we will be studying about Atma and what is unique about Atma and Anatma. What is central to or what is common to both the Gita and the Tattvabodha part is about Jnana Yoga. There are 6 topics that we need to be aware of whenever a person is studying the scriptures. The first is, who is this individual, the Jiva? I see a world around me called Jagat. I need to know something about the world around me. If Jiva and Jagat are there, there must be someone who's created it. We call it Ishvara. The scriptures should give us inputs on Ishvara. I see a lot of difficulty in myself and in people around that is called Bandha. Is there a way out? Yes, the scriptures say, and they talk about moksha. And what is the process to move from bandha to moksha are the various sadhanas. In today's class, we will look a little more into our true nature, which is also called Atma. Atma is of the nature of consciousness. Therefore, so consciousness and Atma is the same as Brahman. Brahman, when you call from a universal angle, Atma is consciousness from an individual angle. This Atma or Brahman is an independent entity, and what is unique is that it has no attributes. It is nityaha, or it is always there. Being infinite, it is all pervading. And being infinite, there is no two of them, it is only one. Because it has no characteristics, but still you have to talk something about what is the nature of this Atma. And the nature of Atma is best described as Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Swamiji has always spoken to us about consciousness. Now I would like you to see the same thing as Atma. What is Atma? Atma is not part, product, or property of my body, but it is an independent entity which enlivens my body. Atma is not limited to the boundaries of my body because it is all-pervading. If the body drops, or when the body drops, Atma continues to survive, but the surviving Atma cannot be experienced or cannot transact for want of a medium to transact. With this background, let us have Karthik, who will explain to us these important verses and also touch on the Tattva Bodha aspect of Atma. Karthik, please.
Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. In shlokas 13 to 21 of the Sannyasa Yoga, Jnana Yoga is stressed. That is the central theme of Sannyasa Yoga. Now, let's get a few definitions just as a part of revision. What is Jnana? Jnana is that knowledge which leads the sadhaka to moksha. How is it attained? Jnana is attained only through Jnana Yoga. What is Jnana Yoga? Jnana Yoga is the sadhana where the pramāta or the sadhaka uses pramana or the means of knowledge or Vedanta Shastra to attain prameya, the object of knowledge, or moksha or brahmajnana in this case. But we have been continuously told that this Brahman is aprameya, that is undefinable, inscrutable, unfathomable, and in short, unknowable. On the one hand, we as sadhakas need to attain a state, but this state is undefinable. So how do we handle this dead end or impasse? Only one way. That is, attain jnana yogyata. This is the only effort involved. This effort, what does it comprise of? It comprises of two things only, karma yoga and jnana yoga. Karma yoga is proper action, proper attitude, or in other words, leading a noble and a devoted life, which is the very minimum for jnana, and followed by shravana manana nididhyasana, systematic study and consistent study of Shastra under an enabled Acharya. Now, by practicing these two yogas, we realize that Atma is neither a doer nor an instigator. Atma is not impacted positively or negatively by actions. Ignorance is removed only through jnana or knowledge. I, as a sadhaka with yogyata, go through sadhana stages automatically. Now, I, as a sadhaka, witness my own transformation through the stages, and I realize that moksha is possible in this life itself, and I gain the perspectives of a jnani. Eventually, I find myself with Atmananda, the highest happiness. Let us now see how this unfolds in a little more detail. Here, in this shloka, Sarva Karmani Manasa, Jnana Nishta is discussed. By presenting a sannyasi who has renounced all actions by knowledge, meaning a vidvat sannyasi, one who has renounced all actions mentally, a jivan mukta. Since knowledge happens in the mind, Krishna says manasa, meaning jnanena, by knowledge. Vashi means a person who has his body, mind, and senses under control. A jñāni is referred to as dehi, the one who indwells in the body. Only a jñāni can see that he is dwelling in a body. Others take the body itself as the self, big self. And he is happily dwelling in his body since he knows he is not the doer. He simply remains the master of the 9-gated city, Navadvare Pure. This is a famous metaphor appearing in Svetashvatara Upanishad. That is why a jñāni is addressed as a Swami. There are no selfish interests in his actions. His actions are in keeping with dharma. Rather, whatever he does becomes dharma. The nature of Atma is awareness, and therefore it performs no action. Atma does not cause the body, mind, and senses to act either. At the same time, no action is possible without Atma. Since the jñāni knows that Atma, I, never perform any action, he is free from all doing. Na kartrutvam, na karmani. In this shloka, we are told why a person can remain happily in the physical body. Atma, the one who is self-existent, is called Prabhu. Existence cannot be established unless there is awareness, and therefore that which is self-existent must be self-evident. And this Prabhu does not create doership for the person, either on oneself or on others. It does not make the body, mind, sense complex to act. Though Atma is described as a Prabhu, king, it does not suffer from the defect of doership which a king has. A king orders his subjects to act, while Atma does not order the organs. Even though Kena Upanishad says Shrotrasya Shrotram Manaso Manaha, it doesn't happen that way. It is just present, in which all the organs act by themselves. So, Atma does not create karma, meaning it does not do any action, either directly or indirectly. It also does not create objects, if karmani here is interpreted as objects. Atma also does not create karma phala samyoga. The results of action are in keeping with the laws of Ishvara. But here we are talking about Ishvara Swarupa, which is also Atma, the self. If Atma does not do anything, or who does it then? Svabhavastu pravartate. The sense organs are Svabhava. The eyes see, the ears hear, and so on. Due to lack of discrimination, one superimposes those activities upon Atma. This is why one thinks, I am the doer, I am the thinker, etc. On sunrise, activities start happening. The flowers start blooming, birds start singing, and everything springs into life. But can we say, therefore, the sun is the cause for all these activities? No. Neither does the sun rise, nor does it cause activities. But in its presence, or in the availability of light and heat, eyes begin to see. And on eyes seeing an object, the ajñāni, or the doer, goes after it, driven by desire. The shloka here, which we must repeatedly dwell over, this will function like a pain reliever. Now, Atma is a bhokta. Atma takes neither papa or punya of anyone. Knowledge is covered by ignorance, and due to that ignorance, people are deluded. There is no connection between Atma and karma phala. Atma has neither kartritva or bhoktritva. Why do people think of themselves as karta and bhokta? There is nothing wrong with performing action involving the grace of Ishvara. It is also to be done, as long as Atma is not understood. Once you have knowledge of the true nature of Atma, even such actions are not necessary. Knowledge is covered by ignorance. Since knowledge can only take place in your mind, not knowing Atma means our mind is covered by ignorance. So the word jnana could either mean discriminative knowledge or the mind. This idea is the central idea is knowledge is not created, it is only covered. This shloka is direct proof that ajnana or the ignorance causes samsara. It is a fundamental cause of samsara. And samsara means the sense of doership. And once doership is taken to be real, then everything else follows. Now, jnanena tu tadjnānam. This shloka explains what happens when ignorance is removed. Ajnana is not absence of knowledge, but that which is opposed to knowledge. It is only presence, bhava, that can cause a problem, not the absence. So ajnana is not jnana abhava. Just like rope knowledge destroys rope ignorance, atma knowledge destroys ignorance of atma. For whom is this ignorance of atma destroyed? The knowledge that the self is brahman takes place in the minds of those who are ajñānis or ignorant. Krishna compares this knowledge to that of the sun. In the wake of sunrise, darkness rolls away. Not only does the darkness go away, the sun lights up everything else. Likewise, self-knowledge destroys self-ignorance and reveals the self as Brahman. This analogy has to be understood properly. It is not that knowledge lights up the self that you can see then. Rather, knowledge destroys the ignorance you had about the self and reveals the fact that was unknown to you, Tattvamasi. You are Brahman. Knowledge does not light up the self itself is the light. Krishna declares that knowledge will reveal the higher self to the wise or jñānis. It will be clear to him that whatever he seeks is within himself. Next, Tadbuddhaya. This is a famous shloka. This is a pramana shloka that confirms that those who have attained Videha Mukti do not come back, do not return. Because of the knowledge of Brahman, the wise become Tadbuddhaya, Tadatmanaha, Tannishtaha, Tatparayanaha. All their impurities are destroyed by this knowledge, and when they die, they do not return again. Tadbuddhaya, those who are awake to Brahman. Previously, their buddhi was rooted in ahankara or ego or the I notion. When one's buddhi is awake to anatma, it feels small and hence focuses on artha and kama in order to be boosted up. But for those whose buddhi is awake to Brahman, everything is Brahman. Tadatmanaha. Previously, it was the mind, intellect, memory, manobuddhi, ahankara, that was Atma. After Jnana, Atma is Brahman. Taking Atma as anything else other than Brahman is fraught with problems. In this shloka, the I notion totally stands negated and the I is recognized as pure awareness. Further, Jagat is understood as Mithya by this person. Mithya depends on Satya, while Satya is the ever-present self. Tannishtaha means those who are committed to Brahman. Nishta means commitment. This shloka refers to those who are committed to Brahman alone, since that's all that is for them. This means their knowledge of Atma is firm and there is nothing more to accomplish for them. Tatparayanaha, those for whom the ultimate end is Brahman. There are no more goals for them, since they have already gained the ultimate. Whether they do or do not does not really matter. Self-knowledge alone removes all impurities. Likes and dislikes, ignorance, error, punya, papa, happiness, sadness, or unhappiness, all these are referred to here as kalmasha, impurities. Since these are removed by jnana, all these are removed by jnana. The pairs of opposites, all these are removed by jnana. That is why they are known as kalmasha. When such people die, they do not come back. And while living, they are tadbuddhaya, tadatmanaha, tannishtaha, and tatparayana. In the next three shlokas, Krishna describes the transformation that take place. Samadarshanaha, seeing Brahman in every being. conquering the mortality or fear of death, gaining the right perspective in facing ups and downs of life. Let us see the first stage of transformation. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. In this shloka, we see the transformation of the sadhaka as he witnesses the transformation himself. How the jnani sees the world. Is it any different from the way the ignorant person sees? Krishna says that jnanis become samadarshis. They see the same Brahman, which is not subject to change in everything. Brahman remains the same, ever pure, unstained, never involved at any stage in any way. Yet, without Brahman, no involvement is possible. To make this point, Krishna takes a few instances. First is Brahmana, described as Vidya Vinaya Sampannaha, one who is endowed with both knowledge and humility. In such a Brahmana, the Jnani sees the same Brahman as he sees in a cow, as in an elephant, a dog, or even a dog eater. A Brahmana is brought up from childhood with devotion, a prayerful mind, knowledge, and humility. He is endowed with a lot of punya, yet his atma is not affected by these good samskaras. A cow, an elephant, or a dog has no samskaras. They behave according to the program, the big program, the overall program of nature, and as demanded by the species, as dictated by their species. They all have different qualities and levels of sattva, raja, and tamoguna. Krishna mentions the dog eater, who is considered to be despicable. Yet, in all of them, the jnani, the tad-buddhi, in the previous shloka, the jnani sees atma. That atma which is never subject to change or affected by sattva, rajoguna, or tama, even though it is the basis of them. Krishna calls such jnanis as panditas here. And these jnanis are more than mere scholars because they have the vision of samadarshana. Ihaiva tairjitaha. This is a pramana shloka for Jivan Mukti. Krishna explains what is attained by those who have this vision of sameness. If the guru were to teach the dog eater, he still has to teach him Tattvamasi and cannot say the dog eater Atma is impure. Only when the mind of the listener has been prepared can the knowledge take place. The preparation is only purifying the mind and not the body, and definitely not the Atma. Seeing everyone to be the same does not mean treating everyone as the same. It is ignorance not to perceive the dog eater as a dog eater, but the truth of his self is Atma, which is the same in everyone. That has to be seen and appreciated. Such jnanis gain freedom right here while one is alive in this body at this time right now. Once gained, they remain steady in that which has sameness, that which does not undergo any change. Brahman has no qualities and hence there is nothing there to change. Atma, when analyzed, can be seen as only Chaitanya or awareness. Atma is self-evident, because of which everything else comes into awareness. Even time is evident to Atma. Atma is in everything, samya, yet it is not affected by punya or papa or the qualities of the triguna, sattva, rajo, and tamo. Moksha is never after death. How can a knowledge of Atma happen after death? If there is survival after death, it is only travel. There is no moksha. Even if you do go to Brahmaloka, Brahmaji himself will only teach Tattvamasi, and it is that knowledge that will liberate you. Moksha is not an event in time. It is an accomplished fact. Atma is nirdosham, free from any defect, and therefore it is always samaha, same. Brahmani te sthitaha means the jnani is not separate from Brahman. For jnanis, there is no urge to become better or return better in another Janma. Knowing they are Brahman, they are established in Brahman. The original fear is the fear of death. But for Atma, there is no birth or death. There is no defect in Atma. Knowers of Atma are liberated here and now. And after death, there is no coming back. Does this mean that they disappear completely? They cannot disappear because all that there is Satya Atma. And what disappears is the false, and the truth alone remains. Now, in this sloka, Krishna continues about the person who has the vision of Atma as the ever changeless and always the same. It is not that they see everyone and everything as equal, but rather they see the Atma, the changeless self in everyone. Firm knowledge, steadiness in knowledge is characterized by lack of doubt. No situation, desirable or undesirable, cause the jñānis to doubt his or her knowledge. The jñāni, after gaining the knowledge, continues to live in this world until his prarabdha karma is exhausted. His life is governed by the same laws that govern the life of an ignorant person also, by desha, kala and prarabdha. That is environment, time and prarabdha. Even if desha and kala are exactly the same for a group of people, prarabdha is variable and unique to the individual. Therefore, while the jñāni also goes through ups and downs in his life, his knowledge or the jnana gives him the ability to give a balanced response to every situation or any situation, samatva. When his prarabdha gives him good experiences, the jñāni is not overly elated. He knows that the experiences are not caused by anything other than desha, kala and prarabdha. Therefore, they will arrive and depart. He does not reject them. He appreciates them, but is not addicted to them. Also, the jñāni does not feel the loss when good experiences go away. The jñāni is not overly troubled by unfavorable situations as well, because he knows this will depart too. He has the same samatva. Prarabdha is a situation that presents no choice, choiceless, as Swamiji says. Therefore, instead of wasting the effort to change the situation, one will benefit by changing the attitude or the outlook. Now, interestingly, Madhusudana Saraswati here says, such a jnana nishtha, this position of a jnana nishtha, should be deliberately practiced as a sadhana by a sadhaka, by constantly reminding ourselves of the innate or inherent defects of objects and situations. Seeing this defect as viveka, which results in vairagya. So it is all connected, interconnected, if you want. This means we need to change our lifestyles as a sadhaka. If we continue to do what we are doing, we will continue to remain where we are. And finally, in the course, the final shloka, in the course of his life, the jñāni does not come in contact with external objects. He does come in contact with external objects like other people. However, his mind is not hooked by them, meaning he does not get carried away by them. A jñāni does not long for external objects. His happiness is in Swarupa Atma alone. Such a person is endowed with recognition of Atma as Brahman. A person who recognizes thus gains happiness, that is oneself. How much sukha is there in Atma? Atmananda is something that does not wane, that does not become less. Atmananda is superior to all the Anatmananda put together, because all of Anatmananda is included in Atmananda. It's a subset, it's a superset of all Anatmananda. The jñāni whose mind is endowed with Brahman has psychological independence. He enjoys Anatma as long as it is there, and when Anatma goes away, he draws happiness from Atma. atmanyevatmana tushtaha. Therefore, he attains endless happiness and does not miss material things because of detachment. The ajñāni, on the other hand, in spite of getting any number of things in life, will always miss something. That puts an end to this part of the 5th chapter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karthik, for a very nice presentation on these key verses of the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita and the relevant Tattvabodha topics. Before we go into a teaching quiz, which is an opportunity for us to see how much we remember, I will just touch on some of these topics once again, highlighting what is that we should remember. The first verse we studied today is this Sarva Karmani Manasa Sanyasta Sukham Vashe Navadvare Pure Dehi Naiva kurvan kārayan. Now the important word here is Vashe. Vashe here means a jñāni, one who has got spiritual knowledge. Such a person, how does such a person function? He gives up a sense of doership. Sarva karmani manasa sanyaste, who has given up all sense of doership. And when there is no sense of doership, what does he do? He dwells within this body. The famous quotation, a body with 9 apertures for interaction. But the Atma, for a jñāni, or for all of us who identify with the Atma does not do anything. More importantly, it does not instigate to do anything. That is another important verse. The next important verse is Na kartrutvam na karmani lokasya srijate Prabhu. Now, what is there to remember in this verse? The Atma in me does not do anything. If it does not do anything, it cannot be a karta, it cannot be a bhokta. Who is the one who has created everything? The word here is Prabhu. Prabhu here really means Maya, enlivened by Atma or Brahman. So with the combination of Maya and Brahman is the one that is who creates everything. Now, if I take Maya to be real, it can disturb me. That is why the important thing to remember is Brahma Satyam Jagan Nitya. Is Maya a blessing or a curse? Remember, Maya is only Vyavaharika. It can disturb me if I take it to be real. But remember, without Maya, we are not able to claim I am Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi can be possible because we have this body-mind complex. Therefore, just like a pole vault, we need to be able to use our body-mind to be able to go beyond the body and mind. Another very often quoted verse is this verse, Ajñānena āvritam jñānam tena muhyanti jantavaha. There is the first part of the verse which says that, the Atma does not take any punya or does not take any papa. The Atma, because it is akarta or bhokta, is not affected by punya, papa. But here is the important diagnostic phrase. It is because of my ignorance of my higher nature. And when I have an ignorance of my higher nature, what do? I identify with my body-mind complex. The moment I have the identification with the body-mind complex, I experience all forms of limitations. And all my suffering is because of the phrase of avidya, kama, karma. And that is why this is the diagnostic verse, ajñānam, ajñānena āvritam jñānam. That means the Atma Tattva, which is full of brilliance, is covered by ignorance. And therefore, if the problem is ignorance, the solution should be knowledge. And that's why we have this Atmana Tad Ajñānam, because of the ignorance, jñānina, by knowledge, nashitam. Our ignorance gets destroyed. And what happens to such a person? Such a person is referred to as tesham. For such a person, tat param jñānam, that higher knowledge will be revealed just like how the sun illumines all of us. So the sun of consciousness will be able to reveal the knowledge and destroy all our ignorance. 17th verse is a very important verse which talks about, we should know what is this tat buddhaya, tad atma, tan nishta, tad paranaya, parayanaha, gachanti apunaravrittim. That means there is no such return for a person. Now, these are the 4 steps important in being able to attain to jñānam. The first is called tat parayanaha. Can I have this as my vision? I'm not able to transform anybody else, but I can work on transforming myself. And therefore, let there be a tīvra mumukshutvam to be able to attain to Brahma Vidya. If that is there, then it is possible to get to the next level, tat buddhayaha, to be able to get spiritual wisdom. Once I get that I go to the next step, tad atmanaha, wherein I claim the Atma to be myself and not the body-mind complex. And finally, that has to become a nishta. It has to be with me all the time, especially in moments of difficulty. Then what happens to such a person? Apunaravritti. For such a person who's got Brahma Vidya, there is gachanti, does not come back. There is no return to this world of samsara. Now, once a person has got a spiritual knowledge, then there is, from now on, these verses from 18 to 21 are all how a jñāni or how jñānam can transform our life. Once a person gets spiritual knowledge, a person's outlook to the world is transformed. You live in the same world with the same kind of problems. A jñāni has a body too, and the body is subject to all the difficulties that we are all subject to. But now the vision is totally different. Although a jñāni sees differences, such a person does not differentiate. The famous example given of Bhagavan Ramana, who was asked, how do we treat others? For such a jñāni, for a person with this kind of wisdom, there are no others. You identify yourself with everybody else. This is an important verse because in Advaita, ihaiva, in this world itself, so this is often quoted to say that liberation is possible here itself. Jitaha sargaha, you win over punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. There is no repeated death for a person who has got Brahma Vidya in this life itself. That means you become a Jivan Mukta. Even for a Jivan Mukta is affected by 3 things. What are the 3 things all of us are affected by? Kala will affect. That means with the passage of time, the body undergoes aging, disease and death, and that can happen to a jñāni as well as to an ajñāni. DISHA, the place when you go or where you are, also can affect us. And finally, it is the prarabdha. But with spiritual wisdom, you will see DISHA, Kala or prarabdha can affect only by body and my mind. It cannot affect the real me. With this understanding, you become a kind of a sthita prajna. You don't, although your life may seem to others to be like a roller coaster, there is so much of a samatvam that jñānam gives you. It gives an inner cushioning that you are not affected by the ups and downs in life. And finally, this last verse, the verse 21, because such a person is atman-eva atmana tushtaha. A person is now not looking for contact-related pleasures. The person develops a certain vairagya, and through vairagya, a person is able to discover true happiness. So, a jñāni is no longer interested in external sense pleasures, not that he hates it, but he is full. He is atman-eva atmana tushtaha, and such a person will get Atmananda, which is Akshayam, which is an infinite source of Ananda. So with this background, we will have a quiz which will be conducted to us by Panaga. Over to you, Panaga.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Can we move to the question, sir? The first question, what is Tattva Viveka?
Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya.
Yes, ma'am. Tattva Viveka is the firm conviction that Atma alone is real and all else is unreal. Just like Anupama ma'am said, Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. Next question, sir. What is the nature of the Atma?
Satchit Ananda.
Absolutely right. Atma is of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda, that is, existence, knowledge, and bliss. Sat means the Atma undergoes no change in the three states of experience, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Chit means the nature of absolute knowledge or consciousness. Ananda means the nature of absolute happiness. What is Anatma?
That which is supported by Atma.
True. Anatma is definitely supported by the Atma, and Anatma is everything that is available to our perception. That is all matter and all energy in the universe, including our body, mind, sense complex. From verse 13 of the 5th chapter, Lord Krishna talks about Jnana Yoga. What is Jnana Yoga?
Knowledge about Brahman or Atma, the self.
Yes. Jnana Yoga is the process of discovering one's higher self, the Atma, through the study of Vedantic knowledge for a length of time under a competent guru. What are the 6 topics contained in the Vedantic scriptures?
Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, Bandha, Mukta, Sadhana.
Oh, perfect, ma'am. So the 6 topics as mentioned are Jiva, the individual, Jagat, the world, Ishvara, God, Bandha, bondage, Mukti, liberation, and finally Sadhana, that is spiritual disciplines. In the 13th shloka, what is the phrase Sarva Karmani Manasa Sannyasa mean?
Akartritvam.
Yes.
Not sure.
Yes, it's right, ma'am. The jnāni, having shifted his identification from his lower self, the ahankara I, to his higher self, the absolute consciousness I, has mentally renounced all attachment to his actions. As ma'am rightly said, it is akartritva. Now, what is the importance of the phrase naiva kurvan na kārayan?
The Atma does not do anything, nor is it responsible for anybody doing anything.
Yes, that's correct. This phrase means that neither does the Atma perform any action, nor does it instigate the body-mind complex to perform any action. We act out of our own free will. Next question, sir. In verse 14, what does the word Prabhu mean? Your options are A, Lord Krishna, B, Atma, C, our Ishta Devata, D, none of the above.
Atma? Is it Atma?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it is. Prabhu here refers to the Atma. State true or false. The innate nature, svabhava, of the body is to be silent and watchful.
False. Rajas.
Perfect. The innate nature, the svabhava of our body is to be active. Fill in the blanks. Dash, caused by ignorance of our true nature, is the reason for all our suffering.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is deha abhimana, that is body identification or ahankara, caused by ignorance of our true nature, that's the Atma, is the reason for all our suffering. Our higher nature is akarta and abhokta. Therefore, it is free from, your options are A, punya and papa, B, samsara, C, both of the above, D, none of the above.
Both of the above.
Yes. So our higher nature, the Atma, is free from punya and papa and samsara because it is akarta and abhokta. State true or false. There are many paths to purify the mind, but only one path to liberation.
True. Jnānam.
Yes, that path to liberation is Jnana Yoga. In verse 17, what does Lord Krishna say is the benefit of tat parayanaha, the deep yearning, thirst and value for Atma Jnanam?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, the answer is in the second line. Lord Krishna says the benefit of deep yearning and value for self-knowledge is gachanti, go, apunaha avritim, and not return. Therefore, we attain moksha, not returning to the samsara of rebirth, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So we don't return to this cycle anymore. In this verse, why does Lord Krishna cite a brahmin, a cow, an elephant, dog, and shvapāka?
Samadarshanam of a jñāni.
Yes, ma'am, that's right. Seen through the eyes of wisdom, the jnana chakshuhu, the jnāni recognizes it is the same eternal Atma, Brahman, or consciousness in all of them. The jnāni has achieved sarvatra samadarshinaha. In verse 19, what is sarga jitaha?
Conquering rebirth.
Perfect, ma'am. So the little meaning is birth is overcome, implying freedom from rebirth, that is moksha. For both jnāni and ajñāni, list the three forces which govern our lives.
We just heard this desha, kala, and prarabdha.
Absolutely. So the three forces which govern all our lives, both for the jnāni and the ajñāni, are desha, place, kala, time, and prarabdha, that is our purva janma karma phala. What is vairagya ananda and who achieves this?
Vairagya Ananda is Brahmananda, which is achieved by a jñāni.
Yes, ma'am. A jnāni who gets ananda from detachment, that is from vairagya, or from being dispassionate to external objects. bahya sparsheshu. How does jnānam benefit us in our daily life?
It frees us from samsara and the problems of samsara.
Yes, ma'am. So jnānam does not change our circumstances, but gives us the strength to maintain a balanced response, samatvam, towards all ups and downs in our lives. Thank you. Hari Om.
Friends, repeated Shravanam and Mananam helps us to be a Gnananishta. Gnananishta helps in Nididhyasana to liberation. Having concluded Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, chapter 14 in our 110th session, in the upcoming 111th session of verse by verse Bhagavad Gita, study of verse by verse Bhagavad Gita, the summary or important learnings of the chapter are captured to jog our memory and help us to have a clear understanding of gunas, the way of life, conduct, traits of gunatita purusha and sadhana, necessary to become a gunatita. Do remember to join us on Friday, 12th August at 6:45 p.m. On behalf of Param Vedanta, I would like to express a hearty thanks. First, to all the participants for joining us for today's session. To Dr. Netravati for chanting and explaining the divine mantra. To Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir for the introduction, as well as for enlightening us with the important aspects of today's verses, today's topic. To Sri Karthik for your excellent presentation and with wonderful slides. To Srimati Pannaga and Srimati Padma Chandrasekhar for the educative teaching quiz, which you have painstakingly put together. That brings us to the end of today's program. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.